Hey, Ecamm fam and extended fam. This is Bradley Teaches, and we are rocking and rolling today with the Keynote 4-day challenge, masterclass, whatever you want to call it. But we're going to be hanging out here doing some cool things with Keynote and Ecamm. Hey, everybody. So welcome. I'm over here checking out some of the responses and chat going over here in YouTube. So I definitely want to welcome you guys in the house today. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know where you're coming in from. I'm kind of checking the messages over here to make sure that everything is cool. I know we have an admin here in the house that'll pass me on some of the questions you all may have. For you all that don't know me, I am Bradley Benson, aka Bradley Teaches, aka Alana's Pawpaw. And I do video graphics with Keynote to enhance your videos, to brand and all those kind of things, just to make it look cool. So, hey, Anna and Fulgence, good to see y'all in the house. Yeah, so I'm super excited. This is my first 4-day challenge with Ecamm. A lot of you guys may know me from the group, from just being in there hanging out, doing videos, doing tutorials, doing how-tos, whatever you want to call them, just making cool stuff, right? So the next 4 days is going to be more of that. But I do have an agenda, but you guys that know me know how I am, right? I am, I guess you can call me a tangent master too, right? Excuse me. I want to bowl down your alley. I want to help you with the things that you want to create. So along the way, if you have questions, something you're working on, something you see me working on during this 4 days that may pique your interest or give you an idea for something you want to work on later, let me know in the chat. And we can explore that, right? So we're going to have a good time here. We got people from all over the place. Hey. All right, I'll get caught up in that. Okay, so I see some things here, people talking about PowerPoint. We'll bring it up a little bit. So, yeah. All right. Okay, y'all. So, as I said, I am Bradley Teaches. Welcome. Please let me know where you guys are coming in from. Let me know what who doesn't know me. Well, hey, a lot of people don't know me, but that's all good. The right people know me, so I just say it that way, right? Oh, wow, we got somebody from Frisco, Texas. That's right down the street from me. I'm actually in Lantana/Denton/Flower Mound area. So we're right here. You are correct, Tommy Ellison. Yes, I will go down a rabbit hole really quick on you. All right. All right. Okay, y'all. So as I said, I do have an agenda. And I want to, this is what I'm here for, right? This is called Bradley Teaches Keynote 4-day challenge for a reason. I want to teach you guys some things. Can we? Yes. Okay. Love that. Love the questions here. There's no extra apps you need to add for this challenge. You only need Ecamm for the end product. You need Keynote for design. I'm not going to do anything, I don't think, that will need a helper app. Yes, I have some graphics that I may have previously made that I then animate in Keynote. like my emoji head and things like that, but you don't have to have anything else to do any of the stuff that I'll be teaching you. Just going through some of these preliminary questions, y'all, just to say hi and things like that. And can you do things in Canva and bring them into Keynote? Yes, you can export your Keynote or Canva presentation, bring it into Keynote. And I may even do a Canva challenge. If you guys think you might want something like that down the road, let me know. Let Ecamm know. We'll see if we can arrange that for y'all. But I can also do a Canva challenge. Canva's a little bit different. It doesn't have the exporting capabilities that Keynote has. So there's some things you can't do with Canva that Keynote can obviously do. And there's some other things about cutting shapes out of shapes, stuff like that. All right. I see we got folks here in the house. We got about 120 here in the house. It is 10:04. And because I'm Bradley Teaches and I teach, I get like a teacher. So at 10:05, the tardy bell is going to ring and class is going to officially start. So I'm kind of giving everybody a little bit of extra time just to get in here, let this last minute go by, and we're going to jump in with both feet and get this thing rocking and rolling. Yeah, start your questions with a Q so they're easy to find. All right. Yes, please start your questions with a Q because, as I said, I am the rabbit hole guy and I'll jump down a rabbit hole just talking to y'all in the comments and not teaching. So I'm going to focus on the Qs. All right, let's see. The topic of the day is basics of Keynote to get you guys ramped up as we go along. So we're going to start with just Keynote in a general sense. Then we're going to build each day. So it's going to be pretty cool. All right. Okay. Let's go, y'all. All right. So I'm not going to introduce myself again. Y'all know. Y'all see the logos all over the place. Y'all see my mug on the screen. So I'm Bradley Teaches. All right. So we're going to go through Keynote basics, setting up Keynote, talking about some of the different palettes, talking about some of the exporting formats and things like that. Hopefully, if you guys registered and you're not just here watching, you also have today's download, which will be part of your homework to get you ready for tomorrow. Each day is going to have some work in it that's going to help you ramp up to the next day. So definitely take advantage of the handout that you should have in your email. If you registered, you'll have that handout. If you did not register for this 4-day challenge, and you just happen to find us right now, go back and register so you can get the daily handouts and a surprise goodie bag. So you got to get registered for that. All right, let's see. It would be good to have Keynote running as you watch, but this will be, you can watch the replay and you can kind of have Keynote open and I can teach you along those ways also. Yeah, please go register at the thing. You'll probably get the email a little bit later. The email, I registered myself too, and I got the email with the download. So I'm not sure why you might not have gotten your download. You should have gotten an email letting you know about today's thing when you registered. And I see that Paul, our moderator, appreciate that Paul, has added the link to register in your thing. All right. With that being said, let's jump into Keynote and do some things in Keynote, right? So we are here right now. Let's get that off the screen. Don't need that. We are here right now in Keynote. I always start with a basic white presentation, but we're not going to be making graphics right now. I want to march you more so through Keynote and some things it's going to be doing. So let me do this really quick. Let me go back to me really quick one more time. Go back to me teaching. Let me pull up my YouTube window because I need to be able to see your questions if you have any for me. And I'll do that really quick. I'm not seeing any questions. Oh, I know why. Okay. Sorry about that, y'all. Let me turn my video monitor off because my screen went to my confidence monitor. There we go. All right. Okay, there we go. Field monitor back on. All right. So here we are in Keynote. And I'm going to march you through some of the preliminary things in Keynote so we're all on the same page as we go through all 4 days. It is very important that you guys, even if you're kind of Keynote masters, have used Keynote before, you may have never used Keynote to make video graphics. So I want to start off with base level, day 1, here's what you can use Keynote to do type of things. So let me show you a couple examples of things that can be done with Keynote for those that may not know. So typically, yes, a lot of people just do overlays, right? This is basically a rectangle with a hole cut in it. But then we have lower thirds. Everything I'm going to show you now is made with Keynote. We have lower thirds. We have sidebars. Easy to do. Now, I'm making these things move through quickly. They wouldn't move this quickly in a real video, right? We also have buttons you can do and make them look like they've been interacted with. All this is being done with Keynote. We have our stinger graphic, as I call it, and I'll show that to you one more time, which is kind of a transition stinger graphic. We have call to action graphics, which you can play what I call mid-roll call to actions to show people to do something or to do different things, right? Then finally, we have even more advanced kind of titling graphics, as I call them. So all of these things were made in Keynote, and I will be talking about and showing you how to make most of these throughout this week. So all of these things are available in Keynote, can be done with Keynote. But to get started, you have to find some of these features in Keynote, and I'm going to walk you through those now. So let's jump over here to Keynote. And one of the key things that I have done as I started developing things in Keynote is that I edited my toolbar to make it more video graphics friendly. And I'll show you the toolbar here. So as you see, now I'm pretty sure this is going to look a lot different than the toolbar you're looking at in your Keynote right now. But I'm just going to just drag this through here to show you how I set up my toolbar to make it more conducive with making video graphics and animations. Now, the toolbar that you have for your Keynote is going to look drastically different. The handout that you have will show you how to edit your toolbar to make it more like the toolbar that I have. But let me show you some quick things here now, just to kind of step you through that process of how you do that, right? All right, so up here in your Keynote toolbar, we're going to right click and we're going to click on Customize Toolbar. Now you will see all the icons that are available to you to add to your toolbar. Now, once you make your toolbar, it's pretty much going to destroy or delete the default toolbar of Keynote. That's not that big a deal if you're going to be using Keynote to mostly make video graphics. But if you're still using Keynote in this more traditional way to make presentations and things like that, I suggest maybe doing kind of a dual use kind of toolbar. Leave some of the most common tools that you'll use to make presentations. Add some more of these animation type tools that I suggest and kind of have a combo toolbar. Otherwise, you can also at a later time always go down here and just drag these icons into your toolbar, which are the default icons for presentation or for what Keynote was really made for, right? But the handout you'll get today will step you through all the different tools that I suggest you have in your toolbar to make it easier to make animations and graphics. Now, you don't have to do that at all. You won't be lost when I click on these things and you don't have them. Most of these things can be found in your toolbar or in your navigation bar at the top or even over to the side. I just have them in my toolbar to make it more efficient for me. And if you're going to be using this to make animations and graphics, I strongly suggest that you do the same thing. All right. So now let me walk you through a couple of these different toolbars and give you guys some tips and tools, so to speak, to help you work through making these animations and graphics. Let's turn this off. Now, one of the things you're going to be using a lot of is the shapes palette, which is why I have it up here front and center. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to show you as it relates to the shape palette real quick, and a quick little trick that you may want to implement or not. Now, depending on which version of Keynote that you have, sometimes it makes the default color of the shapes problematic, because now when you make most of your animations, something you really want to do is make your slide background transparent. And I'll show you what that is here real quick. So over here in Document, you have the Document, Animate, and Format palette when nothing is on your screen. Now, this is a basic white presentation. I always start with a basic white presentation, widescreen. That's the format of video. And I'll go over here to Color Fill, and I select No Fill, which makes the background black. Keynote doesn't show transparency like Photoshop may show it, right? Or some other graphics programs that have the checkerboard shape, which is typically symbolic of transparent. Keynote goes black. That's why I always suggest you start with a white presentation, then make it no fill, versus start with a black presentation. Because some people, when I make all my tutorials, somebody always jumps on and says, my background is black. What did I do wrong? It's because they thought it was transparent, but it was black. Let's see. Okay, we still have people asking about the downloads, which is cool. We'll get you guys squared away. And I'm checking here. And I'll do a Q&A for each day at the end of each session, so we can kind of march through these, all right? Excuse me. Got a little allergy thing going on. So I have my transparent background here. So let me show you this real quick. I'm going to go to my shape palette. And when I click on Add Any Shape, you'll see now that mine is gray. And I did this so I can easily have it show up on my transparent background as I design. Keynote, as it upgrades, sometimes it'll change the default shape color. And the version of Keynote that I have, or I've had now for several months, its default shape color is black, which you can tell is very problematic. So now let me give you this first little tip that's not even really part of the presentation, but something that's going to help you out in the long run. Say, for instance, you just have a brand color, right? And you always kind of want to start off with that color, just something you want to do. Do this. This is how you do that. So any shape that you pick, just have that shape, click that shape, then go over here to Format and Style. Make it whatever color you want. So in my case, let's just do it green for now. And so I have my shape colored and clicked. Now I'm going to go back up here to Style, and whatever that first color box is, it does not matter what the first color box is. You're going to right click on that. And then you're going to select Redefine Style from Selection. You click that. It's going to ask you, do you really want to do it? You say yes. And now, whatever shape you pick will be that new color. Right? So hopefully that was a little tip you guys can use that was maybe worth the price of admission, which was free. But that's a cool little thing that you can do. So now you don't have to keep going in and changing all the colors of your shapes and stuff like that as you design. You can set that default color up front, and now every shape you make will have that new look. So that's something I had to do after I made my background transparent, because all my shapes would also be black and then I couldn't see them. So that's something really quick that you can do. So basically what I did, I have a shape, just have it here. I colorize it, whatever color I want it, over here on Color Fill. In this case, I'm gonna make it blue. Then I just right click on the first style in the style box and say redefine style from selection. I okay it. And now that's the new style for every shape that I make. All right. So now let's march through some of these palettes that you're going to be using to create your graphics. These are things that are going to have to be very familiar to you as we walk through this process of making graphics and animations. And as I said, today is the basics level. This is foundational of things you got to get squared away before we really start building graphics and really start animating. You got to get these things locked in. Excuse me. So let's walk through some of these palettes. So we already kind of talked about the shapes palette, but as you see here, Keynote has hundreds, if not, I'd say hundreds, I wouldn't say thousands. It has a lot of shapes here, but the thing you have to really think about with this shapes palette, have some forethought as you work through the shapes palette and think about what puzzle pieces could I put together to make another shape that I want? Or what shape is a little bit more than what I want? And can I edit that shape? Because I want to show you some cool things that you can do that you may not have thought of as it relates to shapes and different things. So let's go through here. I'm gonna put mask, because you can also select, do a search for different shapes. So we have here, for instance, the mask shape, the happy, sad mask, or the theater mask as people call them. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with Keynote, and I'm going to step through a few of those. I'm not going to dig too deep into those today because I don't want to get in the weeds. But let me show you some different things you can do with shapes. So we have a shape here, and say we only wanted one of these shapes, wanted to do different things with different shapes. We can right-click on it, and we can say break apart. That's one option, right? So now it made these two masks separate masks. We can also right-click on it and go to make editable. And so now this shape has different stroke points that can be edited. So say you have a circle and you wanted to make it look like it had something cut out of it. Here's a way you can do that. By grabbing the lines and moving them, right? So now this shape is even more editable than it was at first. So even though you have all these different shapes available, you now have more options with the shapes. So as you kind of work through and you're looking through the library like, hey, that's a pretty cool shape to use as a lower third or a logo bug if it had this with it, or if I took this out of it. So those are always options. Let me also talk about this as we go through. I'm going to look up one more shape real quick. And I'm going to look up one of my favorites, robot, because I want to show you something related to that. So here's a robot here. So say you want to do animation, because a lot of times I've been asked about animations before where people will say, I want to animate a part of an animation, or I want the legs to move like a person's walking and things like that. You can do different things like that for built-in shapes. Say, for instance, this robot. We have the robot here, and the robot's pretty cool, but I want to move the robot's arms, right? So I have the robot. I'm going to click on the robot, and I'm going to right-click on it and say Make Editable, which I now have the outline of the robot shape. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to separate this arm from the robot's body. And how I'll do that, I'm going to click on the dots here, or the part of the arm that's connected to the body. I'm going to hold down Shift and click the next one. So as you see here, you see these two dots that I clicked, which are the 2 points that arm connects to the body. Now I'm going to right click and I'm going to put, where'd it go? There we go. Divide path. And so now you can't tell, but it actually cut the arm off from the body. And now I want to right click on it and say break apart. And as you see here now, the arm is separate from the rest of the body. So now I can animate just that arm. I can animate the body. I can cut the legs off and animate the legs. So all those different things are options of things that you can do. Now, as you also saw, it actually took those shapes away from the robot. There's a way to fix that, because I'm kind of marching you through these little palettes and how they work, right? And so it looks like it put the robot body on top. So first thing we want to do is grab the robot body and push it backward. We're going to push it all the way to the back just to be sure. All right. Now we're going to select the robot and all those pieces. And now we're going to move to another palette that you guys need to be aware of, which is the format palette. So I'm going to click on format. We're going to go to shapes and lines, and we're going to go to subtract shapes. And now we have cut a hole in the robot in those old shapes that were there. So this is just some basics that we have to kind of go through so we know how these different elements work. Let me check and see how you guys are doing real quick. I want to make sure I'm not losing people and all those things. Let me see what you guys are thinking. All right, we're good to go. All right. And let me know if you have any questions, if I'm leaving you behind. Is this helping? Is this letting you see some of the new things that you can be doing? No. And I'm going to answer that real quick now. No, you do not have to run Keynote to do any of this, because I'm going to be talking about exporting in a second. So you make all these graphics in Keynote, you export them in a format that can be used with Ecamm, and then there are a freestanding graphic that you add. All those graphics that I marched through at the very beginning, I showed you the overlay, the lower third, and all those things. Those are graphics that I added as overlays into Ecamm. They're ready-made, good to go already. Okay, and I'll slow down a little bit. These are just kind of the preliminary thing, right? And somebody said don't know how to push the body back. Now, remember, I'm using my toolbar that I have already set up. So once you set your toolbar up, you'll have the front, back, forward, move backward thing where you can just click on whatever shape that is, then click back to push it all the way to the back or bring it forward. So let me go over here also. Let's go to, this is why it's so important to have your toolbar set up for this, because I also have here my object list. And as you can see here, the different things are stacked up. When I had those other elements that were here that originally were cut out of the robot, they would be over here in this list in the stack. You can also grab the robot body at that point and drag it to the bottom. So there are different ways to do that, but having your toolbar set up is going to be key for a lot of these things that I'm going to be teaching you. It's one of the preliminary things you got to get squared away, because I'll say click the back button. And if you don't have your toolbar set up, you won't be able to click the back button. You have to go find it in the navigation bar and all that kind of stuff, right? That kind of, not a selling point, but it kind of shows you why having your toolbar set up, as I suggest, is going to help you out in your workflow. And I didn't want to use up a lot of this first day's time stepping through all the icons to do. I want you guys to use the handout to do it. But what I'll do as we kind of start to wrap into that last 10 minutes and I'm doing Q&A, what I'll do is I'll actually march you through quickly how to set up the toolbar, if that'll work for some of you guys. And so then you'll have your rough toolbar set up as you wait for your handout to come. We'll do it that way. All right, so We've gone through the shape palette. We've talked now about the format drop down and different things you can do with that as we'll be working through it in the days to come. So let's talk about also some of the other, I'll just leave that arm hanging off on the side. Let's talk about some of the other things that needs to be set up as you find the different shapes and elements that you create or that are pre-made in Keynote that you can use for your animations. Because as you see here, everything has a fill option. Everything that you draw in Keynote that's a closed shape or different things like that can be filled with different types of stuff, either colors, gradients, other shapes, photographs. Unfortunately, as it stands today in this 4-day challenge, you cannot fill shapes with videos. That's pretty much the only thing you cannot fill a shape with in Keynote right now. But images, all those things you can use to fill a shape. Now, as we go over here through the format palette, what we did right here, those shapes were already cut out of the robot, but when I did break apart, it broke those shapes out. But I'm going to show you how to do that with some other shape now real quick, because I see people are asking about it. So let's go over here to the arm, and let's say we want to, I'm going to go basic shape, and I'm going to color this green so I can see it. Let's say we want to put little holes in the arm here. So I'm going to make this smaller, hold down shift. And I'm going to just put a couple of holes in the arm. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. So I have these 3 holes right here above the arm, and I'm going to cut those shapes out of the arm. So I'm going to select it all by dragging across all the shapes, clicking and dragging across all the shapes. So I've selected all the shapes I want to cut out and the shape I want to cut the other shapes out of. I'm going to go over here to Format, Shapes and Lines, Subtract Shapes. And as you see here now, that's cut out of that. It's as easy as that. Now, say I want to add something to it. Go to Shape, add an arrow to the side of it. Select both of those shapes. I can go to Format, Shapes and Lines, Unite Shapes. So as you see here, these are the basic building blocks to things that you can do in Keynote. Once you see a shape or you're kind of working through a shape, you're like, hey, that's kind of what I want. Think of other things you can fit with it to create the shape you really want, right? So this is just kind of that preliminary kind of thing. This is the base level building blocks that you have to kind of get together to see how it goes, right? So we marched through the shape palette. We are going now through the format palette. And so let's kind of now talk about the different ways to fill the shapes. So you've made a shape, you've edited the shape, you've cut a shape apart to the things you really want, you've added things to it, cut things out of it. Now, how do you fill it? Which is really simple here. So you have a shape here. In the style palette, format style, you have different options. You have color fill, gradient fill, you have advanced color fill, which is just different ways of gradients and things like that you can use. You also have image fill, and that's like a default kind of textured thing. You can also put whatever image you have on your desktop in it. It will use PNGs, JPEGs. I think it'll use PSD files too. I've never used PSDs because they're just larger files. JPEGs and PNGs work perfectly. So you can just fill it with that. And you do that just by clicking on choose. Then find a graphic on your desktop or in your hard drive somewhere, put it in there. So that's the way to do that. The advanced fill is an image plus a color. So you pick an image, pick a color overlay, and you have that. So you can start to think about those different things as you're putting together your presentation, right? And like I did for this thing, let's go back here real quick. As I did for this, these are shapes that are filled with images. First, it was that triangle shape that was filled with an image, and then it's the rectangular shape that's filled with an image with a colored background or a color overlay. So those are the things you can start kind of thinking about as you're making your graphics. Okay, do I want to fill this with an ocean scene, or I want my overlay to have a picture of a step and repeat of my logo. So you can build all these different shapes like that and then fill them with other things to make what you want. So that's kind of the base level, kind of getting these things together to get ready to start really ramping up and building graphics. Tomorrow will be building graphics day specifically. We're going to start building overlays and building lower thirds and building logo bugs and building sidebars. And I want to leave, we're not leaving now, but I want to leave this in your mind. Are there graphics that you're thinking about making or trying to make right now? Let me know. And I'll even add them to what I'll be showing you guys how to build tomorrow. So if there's a certain kind of graphic you're trying to make, leave that in the comment flow here, and I'll go back and find it later before we leave. Don't mark it as a question. Just leave it in the comment flow, the graphics that you're trying to make, and I'll make sure if we have enough time tomorrow to add it into what I'm going to be showing you how to make. All right, so as I said, we've stepped through the shape palette. We've gone through the format drop-down box. We've talked about how to fill the different shapes with different things. So now let's talk about the export or the format palette and things like that. But then I'm going to show you how to make some homemade kind of custom shapes also. Now, the format palette, as far as exporting, is very important as you start to kind of figure out the things you want to do. There's only really 2 different or 3 different ways you want to export your graphics when you're making these for use in Ecamm. So we're going to go back here now, and over here in the file drop down, we're going to have export to. What you're going to typically be using the most will be images and movie. The animated GIF don't really use that much at all because the file type is not high resolution as I would like it. Images is for flat images like PNG files for overlays and things like that. And movie is what most of those animations that you have seen, but that's what they are. They're transparent background movies, which are going to be Apple ProRes 4444. The blue and yellow anime, the one with my picture and stuff in it, or the one with the emoji head that pops in and leaves. I can actually walk you through both of those. The animated part of the 4-day challenge is day 3 because we're going to build graphics tomorrow in a static format, then animate them on day 3. So I can definitely walk you through the building blocks, no pun intended, or to steal another show that we have here on Ecamm. The building blocks that it takes to build those pieces, and then we're going to animate them on day 3. And then day 4, we're going to bring it all together in Ecamm, Stream Deck, scenes, overlays, and put together the whole thing. So it's literally step-by-step process to build as we go. Let's see. All right. So also, back to the shapes palette. To build custom shapes, you would use the pen tool. These are basically lines here, curved line, straight line, but to make a shape, that has to be a closed shape, and you want to use the pen tool. So let's click on that real quick. And let's do this because it's making everything black right now. Let's go back over here to document. And, oh, my bad. And just make it a color fill, just for the sake of, so we can see everything. All right. Don't need that. Shape pen. So the way that the pen tool works, I'm not sure how many of you have had any experience with any of the Adobe products and things like that, but the pen tool works a lot like the pen tool in Photoshop or Illustrator, things like that. There's a Bezier curve. You click and you drag to make different curves, right? Or you can just click to get a straight line. So once you double click that, we have our shape done. It's a shape. And now you have all the other attributes that you need. Excuse me. All the other attributes that you need as you would if you had a completed shape. So let's go back here. We can have a line on it. We can have a fill on it. And we can cut things out of it. So I can go back here to this shape. Put this on top of it. Select both of them. Format, shapes and lines, subtract shapes, and it'll cut that out. And so you can still kind of work your way through. There you go. Come on through building blocks and effulgence. Yes. So you can definitely make your different shapes, edit the shapes, do things like that. So that's roughly kind of the things you have to get squared away as we move into day 2, which is going to be a lot more active than day 1 was, as we're going to start building actual graphic elements, right? Now, what I want to do here is one more thing as far as something that you need to do for your homework as you build out and get ready to start making your graphics. Those that know me, because I think we have a lot of guests here that may not know me, those that know me know that I really, really, really love to use what I call a secret weapon graphic. And all that is a screen capture of you on screen, how you're set up in your environment for your video. And I already have my own demo version of that. And I just realized that I actually made a slideshow here that was 4:3 instead of widescreen. So let's go back here now. And I'm going to go, oh, that's because I did it recent. Widescreen, basic white. There we go. Zoom out 75 so we can see everything. Select all, delete. And the secret weapon graphic is basically, as I said, it's a graphic of you on the screen in your environment showing what you look like, right? And I'm going to go here to my desktop, and I've already done the picture myself, so I'm going to just drag and drop that in because I have it here somewhere. There we go, secret weapon graphic. Pull that in. And the purpose of this graphic, as you see here now, is perfectly formatted for widescreen, right? And this is a screen capture. So basically, all you do is Option Shift 3 or Option Shift 4 to drag the crosshairs and take a picture of yourself in Ecamm of you on screen. The reason for this is that it speeds up the process for making your graphics. So when you make a lower third graphic, I'm over here, I have my rectangle. I'm going to make a lower third graphic with my name in it. So it's going to be this big, and I'm going to draw it out. You can now see exactly how it's going to fit on your screen, what it's going to look like proportionally to you, are the colors going to work, and all those different things like that. If you have a setup environment that you typically use, the secret weapon graphic is really a secret weapon because you design all your graphics on top of your secret weapon graphic, and you don't have to do as much tinkering when you bring them into your video because everything is set up. You know how it's going to look. You know how the colors are going to look. You don't have to save it, open it back up, move it a little bit to the right, open it back up. Oh, that's a little bit too small, open it back up. The secret weapon graphic is that extra little thing that you really have to have that's going to speed up your graphics process. Now, on top of that, I'm going to go over here to my object list. Once you make all your stuff, you basically just take your secret weapon graphic and you don't delete it. You just go over here, click on it, go over here to your style palette and knock the transparency down to 0. So then when you export this as a transparent video and things like that, you have a Keynote version of this graphic, you have your saved version of this graphic, and you can always go back. So, okay, I'm ready to do this again now. Let's zip that up, make some more graphics, right? And so that's your homework for tonight. I want you to jump in to Keynote, get those graphics ready. Who knows why this thing keeps playing? Oh, there it is, because I have it eyeballed. I want you to jump into, get that, definitely get that handout. And I'm going to walk you through some things real quick now. When you get your handout, set up your Keynote toolbar for graphics and animations. The second thing I want you to do for tomorrow is to create your secret weapon graphic. So set up your toolbar and create your secret weapon graphic. That's your homework for tomorrow. Now, I would also love for you to give me some homework. As I said, in the comment stream over here to the right, let me know what graphics you are trying to create, and I'm going to try to add them to the list tomorrow of things that we're going to create. If there's things that, extra questions that you have or things that you're kind of worried about or wondering about as it relates to all of this, ask those questions. I'm going to work on those tonight and bring them back to you tomorrow so we can get really rocking and rolling, as I said, because I want to bowl down your alley and help you create things you want to create. I have an agenda, but I want to help you make the things you want to create, not just follow an agenda and kind of work through this kind of rote process that's not really bowling down your alley. All right. You can. Okay, so what I'm going to do real quick now, we have 14 minutes left. I'm going to go through some Q&A first, and the Q&A will probably bring me back into Keynote, and I'll show you how to do those things. Then if we have a little time left, I can show you physically how to make your toolbar and tell you what mine has in it, because I can just enlarge that and show you what those are and show you how to do those, okay? So let me just scroll back to the top. I'm going to look for questions and I'm going to answer them real quick. So let's see. Looking for the cues. Looking for questions. Yeah, I just have a lot of stuff in here. Okay, any apps we need to add for the challenge? No. You can just straight up use Keynote for everything we're doing. And as I said before, there's a couple of graphics that I made that I put into Keynote, but all the animations that you will see were made in Keynote. All those buttons that you saw, all that stuff was made in Keynote. The other apps, like I made my emoji head and things like that, I actually made that with my phone. Now, if you have Photoshop, Photo P, Canva, yes, you can make other graphics and bring those in, but those are not required. Yes, you can convert Canva into Keynote, but a lot of the Canva stuff cannot export with transparent. They definitely can't export videos with transparent backgrounds. So that's part of the downside of that. Is this about designing and importing into Ecamm, or is this about using Keynote as a screen share? Designing and importing into Ecamm, not using Keynote as a screen share. I'm just screen sharing to show you me using Keynote to make all this stuff. Now, I can spend a little time to show you how using a live Keynote presentation in your Ecamm can be done. So yes, I can do that too, but this is about making graphics in Keynote. Awesome. Thank you for that comment, Stephen. Your question should look like this. Okay, if I missed your question, you might have to ask it again. Should Keynote be? No, you don't have to run Keynote to do this. You don't have to run Keynote while I'm running the 4-day challenge. You can always swing back, watch me in another window, then do Keynote. Tomorrow, we are making graphics. So if you want to have Keynote open while I'm doing that, that would be awesome. We have an hour. I'm going to try to jam pack in as much as I can of actually making graphics. Tomorrow is making graphics today. Tomorrow is making graphics day. Today was Keynote basics. What is this? What is that? Why this? Why that? So that's what this is. This is a preliminary step. And I thank you guys for hanging in there. Sometimes people just want to get to the glamorous stuff, but you gotta get through this part. You gotta have that foundation so you can lock in what you can do with Keynote. You definitely don't want to miss this part. All right. Are we starting with default or custom size? Not sure what that means by default or custom size. I usually start with the size of my video window, which is 1920 by 1080. I usually do the widescreen presentation. Which orientation am I working on? Not sure what that means. That's probably, you saw me working with a 4x3 slide. I typically work with the widescreen. I forgot that I did another presentation earlier when I was showing people how to do things on a 4:3. So that doesn't really affect what I was doing today. But tomorrow when we start making graphics for your video, you want to use a video proportion presentation, which is 1920 by 1080. What do I click on after I click new document? Okay, and we can go back to Keynote for that. Screen share, Keynote, file, new, and I always pick the basic white. That's the one I always pick here. I used to do black first. That don't do black, do white, or do something that has a color in it so you can visually know that you have picked no fill and it turns it black. Don't start with black because then you'll forget to make it no fill and then lose black, right? So I always start, you can even do the rainbow one. So I'll start with the rainbow and I'm gonna zoom out so I can see my whole slide, 75%, select everything, delete. And I'm gonna go over here to, we have nothing selected and we have appearance, background, right? Color fill, no fill. Because I visually went from a color to black. You got to have that visual cue. If you start with black, you'll forget to make it transparent, or you'll have the first slide transparent, make another slide, and it's already black, then you've messed up, right? So start with the color, then make it transparent. Are we using Keynote for non-live videos instead of hiring an editor to edit after you record? Not sure what you mean by that. I bring in graphics into my live presentation, as you've seen today. I've also used Keynote graphics in editing because I edit with Camtasia. That's what I use for my editing. And I'll bring in those same transparent video graphics to make animations along the way, like to do true transitions, because transitions aren't really built into Ecamm where you can do it with a graphic. So I'll do a true camera cut transition with my Stinger graphic and things like that. So yeah, so I do them in live and pre-recorded. Uh, don't be lost. Don't feel lost. Just hang with me. It'll be good. It'll be worth it. Um, will the replay have timestamps at each point? I personally won't be adding the timestamps, but we could probably go back in and add those. Do you suggest deleting the slide layout master slides and save as a new template? Um, Typically, that's a very good question, Tommy. You can make a template that's transparent black, right? For instance, typically it's so much muscle memory for me now, and I rarely go past one slide because I'll make whatever graphic I'm making, export it, or I'll make a slide, copy and paste it 3 or 4 times as I make different buttons. I rarely animate between slides. We will be doing that though with Magic Move and a couple of other things. But most of my designs that I do are one slide exports. So I guess I could have made a template way back in the day and saved myself that trouble. But for me, opening up a white presentation, making the background transparent and designing on it, it hasn't been burdensome enough for me yet to make a template instead. But you can do that and just have a Keynote animation template. Open it up, it's black, it's already transparent, good to go. And what he's talking about is if I go here and I'm on my slide and I go down here and I'll zoom that in. Edit slide layout down here. You can click that and you can edit all the stuff in the slide, right? And you can go and delete all of these extra slides that you don't need and delete all the stuff out of them and then save that as a template. So you can do that. I just never took the time to do it. Let's see. Do we have to run Keynote to use these graphics? No. Yeah, I think I answered that already. We're exporting the graphics as a static PNG file or a transparent background movie or a full screen movie. And so we never have to have live Keynote. Well, I'm not going to say never. Sometimes you might want to do live Keynote as your background in Ecamm, so you can do that. But for what we're talking about mostly here over the 4 days, you don't need to be running Keynote while you have your Ecamm running. Does changing the default color of the shape change all or just that specific shape from the library? Yeah, so say if I go here, I'm going to go to shape and see right now for this one, it's black, right? So say I make it orange and I right click on the black here and I go to redefine style from selection. It's going to ask me, update all the objects that use this current style. Don't update the objects and disconnect them from the style. So I always do update all. And so now from that point on, whatever shape I add is going to be that color. Right? And so you have a selection to change all of them or just that one. And I can show that again. Not sure if you saw that. All right, so got a shape. I'll make this shape blue. Have another shape. And I can select both of the shapes. I'm clicking and dragging through them. As you see here, I'm going to click off, click, drag through them. Format, shapes and lines. And I'll zoom in on that. Shapes and lines. Subtract shapes. And I use that top shape to cut a hole out of the back shape. And you can do that, excuse me, with multiple shapes over a shape and all those different things, right? And as another little tidbit, say for instance, why would you do something like that? Obviously, instead of just making an overlay, say you had a picture here of somebody's desktop with a computer monitor over it. You can draw a shape in the shape of that computer monitor and cut a hole out of that, bring it in as an overlay, put yourself behind it. Now you're talking through a computer monitor, right? And so that's what's so cool about this, because you can fill shapes with images. So it can be any image. So essentially, you're cutting a shape out of an image, right? So we'll talk about that more tomorrow. That's kind of one of those build up things. Uh, let's see. Let's go through. Can the special toolbar be saved as a template? No, you cannot. Because we're really using Keynote, not what it was designed to do. It was designed to make presentations, not animations and video graphics per se. So it's only really made to have one toolbar. So when you make your custom toolbar, that is your new toolbar. Now you can always go back to the old toolbar, but it's going to erase your new toolbar. You're going to have one toolbar, can't save it, can't make it a template, because I pretty much decided to make my Keynote a graphics app. I still make presentations with it, but my toolbar is set up for making graphics. So you kind of have to make a choice. Or you can make a toolbar with just more stuff in it, right? Have some presentation style stuff in it, have some graphic style stuff in it. So do it that way, is what I would suggest. Um, let's see. Thank y'all for the comments. Yeah, Keynote can do a lot of cool stuff. Secret weapon graphic, y'all. Got to do it. Okay, can you save the 16 by 9 and secret weapon graphic, insert it as a default? Yeah, I mean, you can do that and make your own template, like I was just saying. You can do that and just save it as a presentation, right? And name that presentation secret weapon graphic. And just open it up each time you design something. Now, you have to watch out with Keynote. And I'll let you know this real quick too. Keynote auto saves. So say I made this thing and I'm like, okay, this is my overlay or this is my template. I'm good to go. I'm going to use this all the time. I open this back up and I make this blue. And then I go in and I, just for the, that design I'm doing that day, I cut another shape out of the corner and I go to format, shapes and lines, subtract shape. And I do that. And Keynote just saved that. So that is now overwritten the original document. So what you have to do is each time copy the document, then open that copy in Keynote, edit that, right? So what I just said was Keynote auto saves. So once you make something and you like it, or it's a template, maybe not a template, but a Keynote file, and you have your Keynote file that you call template, next time you open it, before you open it, copy it, rename it, then open that and design on top of it. Because what's going to happen, every time you open that document and do something, Keynote's going to auto save it. And that's now that new document. And so you can override stuff you've done. That's part of Keynote's default. You can't turn that off. So copy the file. Don't just keep opening up the same file. Can you use Keynote on iPad? Yes, you can. It doesn't have all the exporting capabilities that the desktop has. So you can't export transparent background videos. Apple ProRes 4444. You can do PNGs, things like that. You cannot export in all the formats that desktop can export from. You can open what you made on the desktop version on the iPad, though. But you can't do everything you can do with that. Let's see. Cool. Chris G just finished customizing his toolbar. Awesome. All right. Okay, y'all. So if there's no more questions, awesome. Okay, you guys are ahead of the game. Okay, you already have your homework. But like I said, give me some homework. Let me know what you guys want to create. I'm going to add it to the queue. And tomorrow is creation day. We're making stuff tomorrow. I got a full list of stuff we're going to make tomorrow. And you're going to get another download that's going to help you in the graphics creation process. So make sure that you're registered. If you jumped into this and you didn't register, make sure you register so you can start getting the emails. I think you may still get today's email. I don't know. But make sure you registered to get the emails, get all the handouts. Drop your comments here, drop your questions here. And unless there is something else, any more questions? I don't like to leave people hanging. We are good to go. Now, Keynote is free. Keynote is free. If you got a Mac, it is free. All right. All right. Drop your questions in, y'all. Let's do this. Gonna play this music, not too loud. That's my reminder so I can make sure I get out of here. All right, y'all. So yeah, if you have a Mac, you do have Keynote. Awesome, y'all. Definitely edit your toolbar. Make your secret weapon graphic, and you're gonna be caught up for tomorrow, ready to rock and roll. If you have any more questions, even after watching this replay, as long as you watch it before tomorrow, if you're watching a replay, I will jump in and answer those questions too. Good question, Rainy Cajun. How about animating the cutouts? Good idea. I'm going to show you something with that. I think that's possible. Let's talk about that tomorrow. I'm adding that to my list. All right, I like that. Let's do that. We're going to keep up with the robot tomorrow, and we're going to add some animations, flashing lights and things like that to it on day 3. Day 3 is animation day. Tomorrow is day 2. Day 2 is creation day of all your graphics that we will then animate on day 3. So come on in tomorrow. Be ready to rock and roll. Get your Keynote open. Get your Keynote updated. Be ready to create, y'all. We're going to have an awesome time. I hate leaving. I'm just prolonging what I have to do. I know I have to leave. I know we all got other things to do today. All right, y'all. So good to see y'all. Good to be back with the fam. I'm loving this. Thank y'all for giving me your time today. I will see y'all tomorrow. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. And keep on creating. See y'all tomorrow. Let's get ready to create some graphics and have a good time, y'all. Day 1 done. See y'all for day 2 tomorrow. Peace.